Johnny Harris recently released a video on boredom, and while the main content of his video was interesting, it was his ending segment on ways to cure boredom that I found lacking and found worthy of critique. And before we begin, this isn't a full video review, so you have to watch the other parts yourself.
Number one, look at it. I'm not going to go all new age on you, but I am going to say that the most effective, most powerful, subtle thing that you can do is recognize what it feels like to be bored the next time you're bored.
I don't understand what he's trying to get at, because everyone knows what boredom feels like already. It's the same as saying people should look at pain the next time they feel it, because they somehow don't know how it feels, which is absurd. Instead, what people should do is look at the source of the boredom, which is going to be two things. Why does what they're doing feel not worthwhile? And what would be worthwhile doing?
Try to notice your mind going into a more existential mode where you're thinking about the past and the future. At first, it's just going to feel like a jumble and a cloud of uncomfortable feeling. But with time, even if you just take a minute before you intervene and do anything, just to notice, you will refine that sense of being able to see the boredom.
Again, this isn't boredom. If you are in an existential mode, then you're anything but bored. An existential crisis is having pain in the spiritual or mental domain. And when you're in pain, you'll be anything but bored.
Oh, and you kind of have to do this without judging it, without getting down on yourself. Just let it happen, look at it. There's actually a ton of science around this very simple technique that is called mindfulness. It applies to all kinds of mental experiences, but it really applies to this boredom situation.
I will say that mindfulness isn't a cure to boredom, at least to most people. Mindfulness is there more to address mood disorders like depression and anxiety, because, as he said earlier, the spiral that people can get into when thinking about the past and future. And most people don't live the monk life. People have jobs or other responsibilities that they need to take care of, which often requires them to plan ahead, which is thinking about the future. And if most of your daily activity involves some form of future planning, then you will be most comfortable engaging in future thinking activities.
There's a million ways to formally practice this, like a million apps, Headspace, the Waking Up app with Sam Harris, a million YouTube videos, whatever. But you can also just informally try it out next time you're having an uncomfortable feeling. Try to look at it instead of avoid it.
I haven't used those apps before, so I can't really comment on them. But it's again based on mindfulness, which isn't relevant to boredom.
Number two, and this is also going to sound kind of new agey, but I promise it's also very useful, is work on accepting it. Meaning going through the process of, instead of trying to avoid it, embracing it and saying, this is what is happening right now. And even saying, this is what helps for me, is this is actually a good thing. This is my body telling me something about my life. I'm going to actually try to accept it instead of trying to resist it.
Boredom isn't something you just accept. It's something that you work with. As I previously mentioned, when you experience boredom, it should be a moment where you start reflecting on why you're bored, and then work towards something that you don't find boring.
The $64,000 question about boredom that everybody wants to know is, what do I do about it? How do I eliminate it? And there are lots of different responses to that. I think the first one is to say you can't eliminate it. Boredom, if it's something that plays a role in your life, if it's functional, then you don't want to get rid of it, right? Because you want that function.
So he has some truth on the way of viewing boredom. Boredom is a bit like pain. You don't like it when it pops up, but it probably isn't something you want to get rid of. I mean, it wouldn't be detrimental if you did, unlike pain, but I would find it highly unlikely that most people could get rid of it, or even be willing to. Because if you could get rid of boredom, that means you could sit still and count the number of grains of sand in an hourglass without needing some other form of distraction. And I don't think most people will want that trade-off.
Another way to put this is relax into it. Relaxation is kind of the opposite of boredom in some ways. Relaxation is an acceptance of non-action.
Relaxation is basically the main cause of boredom. There's a reason why rich people who don't have to work need to preoccupy themselves with things to do. And it's not because they have a lack of relaxation, but an abundance of it. Relaxation only feels good when it occurs after strenuous activities.
What I do is I kind of go back to these brain scans and I think of the nostalgic, thinking about the past and the future, and try to say oh, my brain is going through this default mode network thing, and that's kind of cool. I'm going to just relax into it instead of judge myself that I'm feeling it.
Have you ever experienced someone who tries to fit into a group, but also has no familiarity with the culture? So they just try to parrot a whole bunch of conflated ideas and hope something sticks? That is the kind of feeling I'm getting.
Okay, so those are the first kind of micro actions that you can take inside of your mind next time you feel bored. And those sort of set the stage for managing your boredom. If you do those two, then you will be in a better place to engage with the rest of the things on this list, which are things that are scientifically proven to help you fill this tank of meaning, which is core to us feeling regulated and good.
As a bit of a preface, no. Everything he has said so far has been nonsense, and should just be disregarded. However, the things he is about to say do have some merit, but are once again incomplete.
So that leads us to engage in what the scientists call pro-social behavior, which means just hanging out with people. So much of human meaning comes from relationships, connection with others. Helping other people happens to be like a very potent fuel for this sense of meaning and purpose.
Helping people isn't a cure to boredom. It is in the category of what I call distraction. It may alleviate it for a while, like how painkillers remove the pain temporarily, but the limitation is that you're dependent on people needing help.
And for the introverts out there, it doesn't have to be like a heart-to-heart, hour-long conversation with somebody. It can be like going to an event where there's a bunch of other people. Group rituals, festivals, sporting events, concerts, political rallies. These are a fast track to feeling some kind of collective meaning with your fellow human beings.
Spending time with others isn't going to innately make you less bored. There's a reason why people get bored attending family gatherings. There's also the phenomenon where people feel lonely even when they're in a group. You can't just randomly pick an event and expect it to be meaningful.
I think other animals like dogs and cats and pets also can fulfill a version of this as well.
Sure, pets can help, but I would again say they are distractions, for the reasons I specified earlier.
We're going to put some links in this boredom guide of a platform where you can find different communities and meetups, as well as this cool blog post of 99 ways to find IRL community.
Finding a community is the actual solution, but it is odd that he doesn't elaborate further on it, because it does deserve some explanation. Let's use movies as an analogy. A great movie isn't going to be something that can be created by a single person, because a single person just won't have the time nor skills to fulfill every aspect required to produce it. It is a good representation of something that is greater than the sum of its parts. Because while you may have members on the team who are excellent independently, but if they don't suit the final product, then the movie will be bad regardless. A community works in a similar way. It must, in a sense, exist independently of its members, because while people may come and go, the identity of the community must endure, which is why it is not the community that must serve its people. It is the people who must serve the community. Otherwise, the community will fragment and lose its purpose. I also went and read that article, 99 Ways to Find IRL Communities, and it is just one of those New Age fluff pieces that pad the writing to reach a magical number.
Okay, the next one. Get creative. Humans are artistic, creative beings, and turns out that being creative, making stuff, fills our tank. And as the science says, when we are bored, we are actually uniquely placed to be more creative, to think differently than we normally do. The literature talks a lot about like mastery and practice, like practicing piano every day. That's a little high effort for this. I'm more so thinking low effort, low cost, like high reward creativity. Cook something, do some like basic crocheting or knitting, origami, adult coloring books, mood boards, collages, finger painting. Like, it doesn't have to be good. No one has to see it. But the act of making something is a source of meaning and a great way to like leverage your boredom for something creative.
Being creative is really just another distraction, especially when it emphasizes on the low effort part. Because something that is low effort is almost synonymous with disposable, and if it's something that you can simply throw away, then it isn't going to be meaningful. It will just be another thing that you will soon forget about.
The next one is near and dear to my heart, which is get curious. Curiosity and enthusiasm about something is a deep source of meaning for a lot of people. This is actually like the core. For me, besides my family, this is like where I get most of my meaning in life. Nerding out about stuff. There's this quote from Andy Warhol. You need to let the little things that would ordinarily bore you suddenly thrill you.
While this is a good quote, being thrilled by the small things in and of itself won't create meaning. It's like having an interest in bricks without also having some architecture in mind.
I mean, easier said than done, Andy, but like try to find things that light you up, whether it's like obsessing over the specs of trains in Europe or looking into how ants build ant colonies, whatever. Finding something that you can nerd out about and obsess over can be really good for meaning and a cure for boredom. Going down the old Wikipedia rabbit hole works every time.
And this is a great example of what I mean. Going down the Wikipedia rabbit hole won't give you meaning. It is a distraction that lasts until the novelty wears off. And at the end of the session, you probably wouldn't have gained much, if anything.
If you cultivate this enough, you get access to like the inverse of boredom, which is called flow, where you are so deeply engrossed in what you are learning or doing that you kind of forget everything. It's like your attention and meaning are just on like turbo drive, and you can kind of just go for hours.
I wouldn't say that flow is the opposite of boredom. It's just a very immersed distraction. The reason why I call it this is because it's something that is only temporary, and isn't really something you can return or recall back to. It's something that exists only in that moment of time, and is also a product of something else. As an anecdote, I've experienced flow during some sessions of programming. I would describe it as things just clicking together. I was able to move from problem to problem, and there was a constant sense of accomplishment, which was also intercepted with moments of satisfaction when all the parts finally worked together. Another way to phrase it is a feeling of destiny.
Okay, next one is going outside. This is, again, well documented in the literature. Wandering through a forest does wonders to our sense of awe and perspective and meaning. You're also moving your body and going through a walk in nature.
I'm going to stop the video here, because everything afterwards is more or less a summary of all the points. So I would agree that this point is applicable to everyone, but its degree of impact will vary. If you're a person who really enjoys the sight of nature, or is into plants or animals, then obviously going outside is going to be more worthwhile than for someone who isn't into those things. But even for people who aren't interested in outdoors, going outside will still provide some worthwhile experience. Because when you spend all your time indoors, and all you do is use a computer, then you're creating an environment that's like a partial sensory deprivation chamber. You're basically limiting yourself to two sensory experiences, namely sight and sound. Because moving your mouse around isn't really a tactile experience, it's just a medium to enable different sight and sound experiences. And of the remaining experiences, everything is more or less faked or curated. The colors on your screen may be too bright or too dull, and the sounds may be too strong or too weak. It's a bit like real vanilla versus imitation vanilla. While imitation vanilla gets the general taste of vanilla, real vanilla has depth and complexity that imitation vanilla won't have. When you move in a video game, it's incredibly simple. All you need to do is hold one button. Soft, hard, and uneven terrain will all be the same. But in real life, you will feel those differences, from your feet to your waist to your arms. There's also no BGM to set the mood. You're left to listen to the quietness around you. When the wind blows, it isn't just a sound, it's tactile as well. And the sun isn't just a source of light, but also warmth. But most of all, there's one sense that current technology can't replicate, and that is smell. And let's not forget textures. What can look more realistic than real life? Overall, Johnny Harris isn't exactly known for his well-researched and in-depth knowledge of the topics he creates videos on, and this feels like another one of those cases. A lot of what he recommends are just distractions in and of themselves, and he even basically shows them as such with the examples he gives. The way to turn those distractions into something meaningful is to engage it for the purposes of a community. For example, if you have a great idea for a game mechanic, but don't have the time nor interest to develop a full game utilizing it, then just make a proof of concept using that game mechanic, and let other people develop on it. Make it open source. Because at the end of the day, it's like making a movie. It will not be the costume designer that will determine the greatness of a movie, nor will it be the special effects artist, nor the sound designer. It will be the combined effort of all of them. So look for a community where you will be happy to leave a mark, or you may one day find all your efforts meaningless.